And now, please welcome CEO Delta Airlines, Ed Bastian.
So good morning. We're fortunate to have Ed Bastian here today, who's the CEO of Delta, and want to just start out, Ed, by just really letting the audience know more about you. I think most people know you're the CEO of Delta, and I think without question everybody knows Delta Airlines, especially if you're flying into Atlanta. You've got to most likely fly.
Hopefully
with Delta.
Flying anywhere.
Yeah, exactly. But just maybe taking a step back, how did you end up becoming CEO of Delta? Because I can't imagine as a child you thought I'm going to be the CEO of a major airlines at some point in the future. So
probably the last thing I thought I'd be.
Yeah, exactly.
I was 25 years old before I took my first plane flight. So, which I sound like a dinosaur, I know, but the odds of me being in this chair are pretty strange. So, I grew up in New York. I spent a lot of time traveling in the business community. I eventually found my way to Dallas about 30 years ago with PepsiCo and Frito-Lay, and really started traveling extensively. And along the way, someone told me, a friend said, you should work for an airline. You've traveled the world and you're always on a plane. It might be easier if you actually worked for the airline. And so it's probably an interesting thought. And 6 months later, I got a call from Delta and came here, and I've been here now 25 years, and it's been amazing. We all are part of the same ecosystem, and travel and hospitality and experiential. It's been bumpy, just like your industry has been bumpy over time. It's not for the faint of heart, but at the end of the day, it creates more of a buzz, of an opportunity to have impact and experience than, candidly, I think almost any industry out there, and I love it. I love it.
Yeah, and it's amazing because you look at Delta today, you've got over 100,000 team members, right?
Yep.
And you're responsible for over 4,000 flights daily and managing, all that, which I'm assuming the 4,000 plus flights, that's got to be, hundreds and hundreds, if not millions of people.
Well, we carry 200 million people a year.
Yeah, that's amazing. And so it's, you have a huge impact on the economy. Obviously, you're seeing everything happen firsthand, and a lot of questions today, people are, with higher interest rates, the impact of, inflation and so forth. How are you seeing that just impact travel in general for your business right now?
I think many of you are seeing it. I think everyone wants to know, when's it going to stop or slow down or get to some kind of normal pattern. I think this is our new normal. We're far enough through the cycle here to realize that the pandemic changed many things, but one of the things it changed is the desire for people to experience the world more than ever before. All you have to do is take away something from somebody for an extended period of time. It doesn't matter whether you're a baby boomer or if you're a Gen Z or a millennial. Wherever you are in that spectrum, we're seeing travel become really a meaningful force for where they want to invest their dollars. For Delta, we obviously, as a premium brand, spend a lot of time analyzing who our consumer is, and there's no such thing as a consumer, a typical consumer. You got all types of consumers. For air travel, our typical consumer is someone with household earnings of at least $100,000 a year or higher, which interestingly makes up 40% of U.S. households. It's a pretty large number. And they account for probably 80 to 90% of the spend on air travel in our country. And Delta, being at the premium end of that, is probably even higher, probably over 90% of those consumers. I go through that detail to let you know that cohort, where they sit today economically, is substantially better than they were even before COVID started. That cohort has accumulated over $30 trillion of wealth since the end of 19 to where they're at today. And that's about a 25% increase from where they are. And that includes all sources of wealth. That's the market, that's real estate, that's cash, that's their, anything that they have access to. And so they've got means. And when you ask those individuals, where's their investment going? What's their discretionary interest to spend? It's not about buying homes. It's not about cars. It's travel. It's travel, it's experience, it's concerts, it's restaurants, it's hotels, it's getting out and being part of it. And that demand set is fueled by the fact that, again, as I said earlier, they couldn't do it for so long. Our industry's got, I mean, you're in an industry of metrics, and you guys manage your metrics in great detail, as do we. There's one metric in our industry that is consistent for the last 50 years and only broke really during COVID. And that's the relationship between air travel spend and US GDP. And that number is about 1.3%. 1.3% of US GDP goes into air travel year in, year out. You go back to the 1970s, even before deregulation, and you can just see the climb. Oh, year in and year out. Sometimes it's 1.4, sometimes it's 1.2, but it's always consistently 1.3. It really only broke during COVID when people couldn't spend.
Right.
But if you measured what people had the opportunity, the desire, and the means to spend based on what GDP was over that period of time, and what they actually did spend on travel from 20 to 22, there's a $300 billion gap that's missing. $300 billion. Now, I don't expect all that $300 billion to come back, but if you look at where our economy is today in 24, and you look at this, we're just getting back to that 1.3%. So we really haven't even dug into that level of unmet demand. So I think you're going to see this fueled for years to come, and that's why I do think this is our new normal, and it's good for all of us in this industry.
So are you seeing any softening in travel this year? Is it still just growing over 20, when you look at 2023 for the first quarter versus, and the first quarter's not done here, so I don't want to put you on the spot, but are you seeing, we're just seeing some choppiness, across our hotels that we own and operate, which, we have about 100 hotels across the U.S. on the equity side. We've got, about 200 debt positions on different assets, within our company, and we're just noticing certain markets are pulling back, and then other markets you're seeing, continued growth in RevPAR.
You always have a little bit of choppiness. I think anything that's on the business side is doing quite well, continues to grow. Anything international is doing extremely well. Anything that's of a premium nature is doing really well. I think at the lower end of the stack in our industry, the lower price carriers or low-cost airlines, they're having a little bit of a difficult time, and there's too much capacity chasing too few travelers.
Right.
But one of the problems is the market's moved upscale. And as a result of that, the low-price carriers in our industry are having a hard time, getting their pricing met, because their costs have also gone up. So no, I think the outlook, for Delta this year, we expect to have an all-time high record revenue and hopefully profit base.
Do you expect, just when you look at the different airlines, just because you were mentioning the low-cost providers struggling, do you think that there'll end up being more consolidation across the industry, just in general, or you think it's?
Well, it's hard to tell. There was a move. JetBlue was looking to buy Spirit that the Justice Department blocked them on, and they've since given up on that. There will be some restructuring of some nature. I don't know if it'll be through merger. I don't know if it'll be through other means. But at the lower end of that, the thing in our industry is that planes fly. If you have a hotel that's not doing well, you can't kind of pick it up and move it, which is a bad thing. It's also a good thing, because in our industry, when you have planes, you have assets that fly. If you have something that's working, everyone tries to come in and kind of take and copy whatever you're doing. So that supply base is very fungible and can continue to morph and evolve. And so I'd expect to see those models continue to try to go to new destinations, new places, try some new techniques, but eventually, if they're unable to cover their cost, I mean, those planes are going to have to go somewhere else or back to their owners.
Right. And what's, just going back to your typical traveler, looking at your typical consumer, I mean, is it coming out of COVID, are you noticing any trends, from a standpoint of they're staying longer in certain destinations? Because we've seen, obviously, in the middle of COVID, we saw a lot of this leisure travel, and we still see it, within
I hate
hotels.
That word, leisure. Bleh.
But are you seeing the length of travel or any other trends that are a little bit
unique?
Well,
one of the things that's changed significantly is the use of technology to enable work patterns to shift. And one of the big fallacies, there's so many things about our world that we got wrong during COVID. One of the theses at the start of COVID was, particularly for an airline with Delta, a big premium carrier, big business travel carrier, we had the most to lose, and it's going to be almost a death knell for us. And it was just the opposite, because what Zoom and all these video conferencing tools enable is you to take your office with you. People didn't see that, and I was like a broken record, year after, no, this is going to be okay. Anything that enhances mobility is going to enhance us. So yes, workplace patterns have changed, and I think the standard work week in office will probably turn to somewhere between 3 and 4 days a week in office. But that doesn't mean the other 3 or 4 days of the week people aren't working. They're doing their work, but they're doing it in different ways, and many of them are finding new ways to both have some time for their family and themselves, as well as take care of their responsibilities. So we've seen a massive increase in business travel, not in the traditional sense of just under kind of going into the office, but actually going to events, going to conferences, living places differently from where they work, having to travel back into their offices 2 or 3 times a month. That never would have existed. So it's been actually interesting. Video conferencing has enabled our business to grow. It hasn't hurt it.
Yeah, and it's interesting to hear, just because I feel like video conferencing, just as you talk about Zoom and so forth, one challenge coming into, or as we were in COVID, a lot of people thought travel would reduce because everyone was going to do their meetings over Zoom unless it was a high priority type meeting or a meeting that had the high impact. There's no reason to travel to these locations. But have you seen a reduction in where people are traveling just for the day, like a day trip, or are y'all tracking that type of data where you're seeing?
Yeah, so short stay, short distance travel is definitely down meaningfully. So New York, one of our big markets, is the Northeast Corridor going from New York to DC, or the shuttle from Boston to DC. Those trips are down meaningfully, and because there's not a need to just go and to show up.
Right.
So those trips, you see a reduction in crazy red-eye travel, where people are just flying across the country for a meeting and turn around and flying back, or going over to Europe overnight, going there for a meeting and flying. All the things that we've done in time, which is at the end of the day you say that's stupid.
Right.
Well, we're not doing that stuff anymore, which is a good thing.
Right.
Because it's not productive. It's not constructive. It's not worth it. You can use a different means to get that met. We'd rather build our base of travel around sustainable forms of travel and have opportunities for our customers to experience while they're going and enjoy the experience, not look at it as a necessary evil.
What's, just from a standpoint of just one other question too, is just within the hotel business, we're always tracking forward bookings and looking at, and it's a good indicator to how our hotels are going to perform and so forth. And when you look at just one thing we've noticed in the hotel business, it's been compressed down. There's a lot of people booking last minute versus, and this has been happening, even pre-pandemic, where the booking window is getting squeezed. Have you noticed, any change of just last minute travel pickup, or is it?
Yeah, we've seen the booking curves change. Now, for our industry, we've seen actually the booking curves push out a little longer, and one of it is because of the high demand set that we're seeing. And anyone that went over to Europe last summer realizes that if you didn't have your plan set 6 months in advance, and your hotel and your car and your tickets to whatever you're doing, you're out of luck. Some of that has continued with us, and we continue to see people booking further out for their journeys because they want to make sure they get what they're after. Business travel is also booking a little further out. It changes. It's based on market. One of the things we did during COVID is we eliminated change fees, and that was to incent people to feel free to book without a penalty if they had something that came up they needed to change. And COVID was the ultimate. I didn't feel comfortable booking this because I don't know if I'm going to get sick. I don't know if it's going to be open when I get there.
Right.
I don't know what I can do when I get there. And so it was a blocker for people to make plans. When we took change fees out, and we took them out pretty early within the first 6 months of COVID, because we were already planning to take it out anyway. Just gave us a great excuse to take it out. then it opened up the window for people, and we see a lot of changes happening at a pretty active pace here, which encourages booking.
Yeah, and so without having that change fee, is that causing a lot of, like I know a lot of times I travel, so I mean I travel in Delta all the time and appreciate not having that change fee, but is it causing, just going back to the change, is it causing people to, potentially just, ultimately change their flights last minute, or is that
Yeah, we see a lot of churn. Of course, when you change your flight to the last minute, if you're buying into a different inventory category, you're having to pay the differential. So it really doesn't. It's not prompting change just for sake of change, just to kind of continue to be flexible. We see it's good change where somebody actually has a reason or need to want to change. We go back on pricing and segmentation, and obviously change fees are one way to keep people into various segmented categories in terms of your inventory pricing. So we have to think differently about how we price and how we manage that. One of the things for us that's been fascinating in our business is that we book our travel, 300. We sell 300 days forward always, and so we're selling. And the moment that trip takes off, very much like what you guys do, you can't sell that room again.
Right.
You can't sell that seat again. And so all of our modeling, the world has decided AI is going to be the new internet. It's interesting. I'm not sure if it is or not, but what we're seeing is all of our, because we used to, and I'm sure you guys did too, used a lot of the predictive engineering and technology to price and to revenue manage and to inventory manage.
Right.
The history was all broken during COVID, so we had 2 or 3 years of abnormal activity. So we're trying to go back. Our systems are going back, trying to predict what the behaviors are going to be. And not only do we not have the history, we also don't have, the fact that behaviors have changed also at the same time. And so understanding this. So our revenue management teams are having a lot of fun understanding where the price points are, what the consumer interest is. That's where AI actually, and we're starting to experiment with some techniques, some technologies to give us better opportunities to understand what is the right price point, what is the consumer interested in paying for value, and where do you move, rather than just kind of awkwardly kind of stumbling through the night as we've often done through many years.
Yeah, it's the revenue management side, sort of interesting, because I feel like the hotel business almost copied the airline business on doing a better job of revenue managing. And when you look at just revenue management in general, and there's a lot of people in the audience that operate hotels or have operation platforms that run hotels, and it's something that over the last decade become a bigger part of our business to drive profitability, being able to drive that extra revenues or really drive those higher rates that become, because you're selling the room anyway. If all of a sudden you can sell it for $200 versus $150, that extra $50, a lot of that's, most of that's going to be, profits, or it's going to flow to the profitability of that hotel. What's, just from that perspective, is that, like within y'all's revenue management, is that like a big part of y'all's, just when you look at how you drive revenues, within your business, is that I'm assuming that's a pretty large department, and you are using, it sounds like, technology to help.
Oh yeah, we have a very large department. We've been at it for many, many years, and when you couple that with loyalty and our relationship with American Express, that just is an added feature. We're to the point, Greg, where if you think about our cabin, less than 50% of our revenues are coming from the main cabin of the airplane, which is where the bulk of your inventories lie. So when you think about upselling, when you think about premium, when you think about opportunities to optimize your price points for us, and we're growing and investing more heavily in premium, whether it's in the air or on the ground, in the clubs and the airports, that's our future. And I think that is also the market that's growing the fastest over kind of your basic main cabin experience. And then you tag on top of that the loyalty aspect with American Express and the benefits of that relationship, which are phenomenal. We're getting to a point where that's where all of our profit pool continues to grow, and the main cabin, the base cabin, it covers your fixed cost, but it's what you're able to do with your premium product that really makes a difference in performance, and that's why Delta has led the industry for any number of years in terms of profits because our people have been actively leading that category.
Yeah, I never even thought about that. So 50% of the profitability or 50% of the revenues is coming from the premium cabin. Just make sure.
Yeah, more than that.
Yeah, that's crazy.
So the premium cabin and the premium services with
Sure.
American Express and loyalty and all the things that we bring. So it's an interesting way to think about it.
Yeah, no, that's really interesting. And so what's, like, from that standpoint, are y'all doing, like, when you look for the, into the future, like, is Delta, how are you trying to, usually, or really take advantage of that? Like, is there certain things you're looking
Well, we're continuing to grow our fleet, refresh our fleet. One of the things that we did during COVID is we got rid of a lot of old planes, and we kept taking, we do not fly the Boeing MAX, which is kind of sometimes you'd rather be lucky than smart. We made that decision 7 years ago that we were going to go on the Airbus platform. And so we've been able to continue to take airplanes all throughout this entire time frame, which the industry has been challenged to get planes. We have planes coming and continue to come. And every new plane that's coming into Delta, 1/3 of the plane is coming in premium content in terms of seats. And that number used to be 10 years ago, maybe 10 to 15%. And so you've seen the shift in terms of actually the cabin space, how we're continuing to extend that. We have not only that, we get obviously the benefits of new with respect to fuel efficiency, and those planes are also coming in 25% more fuel efficient than the planes that are retiring. So that fleet structure, that kind of sets your path in terms of where you're looking to grow. We're looking to grow with Wi-Fi. We took a page out of your playbook in the hotel industry, making Wi-Fi free finally, and I know it's hard for you. Would you imagine having to do that while you're bumping around at 500 miles an hour in the air?
Right.
It's pretty daunting to get Wi-Fi to work well, but we've completely changed out our satellite provider. We've got Viasat in doing a great job, and by the end of this year, we'll have all of our international as well as our domestic fleet enabled with free, fast Wi-Fi that works. It's not just Wi-Fi that you're giving it away. It's Wi-Fi that works, and the consumer response on that has been amazing. The reason we've made it free is for our ability to kind of understand who our consumers are. The only requirement we have is that you be a member of our program, and we've had over 2 million new members sign up to SkyMiles in the last year, just while they're on the plane to get Wi-Fi. And that is, you think about it, those are customers we already had. We just didn't know anything about them.
That's
when
wild.
You think about the power you have then to be able to better provide service and opportunity to them, it's significant. The Delta app, the technology we've provided that's another reason to stay loyal to Delta, because you know how to manage your schedule, and you'd rather manage your own schedule rather than have to call somebody or have to stand in line to do it. Continuing to put power into that app to make that app more, and we're continuing to invest and it's good now, but it's going to be great over the next couple of years. You think about how we continue to renovate and to kind of take the ground experience to a whole new level. Our clubs are now, I think, the new clubs we're offering, and we're opening finally Delta One lounges. The first one will be JFK this summer, and by the end of the year, we'll have a Delta One lounge at LAX as well as in Boston, and we're going to be growing it throughout our system. They're as good as any club you'd ever see, anywhere. Yeah. And putting that into the airport experience as while we're redoing the airports in LaGuardia and Salt Lake City, Seattle, and Minneapolis. So the experience part of our business is all leaning towards premium. So it's not just the fact that we decided premium is where you want to go. Premium is the basis upon which we built a brand that stands for reliability and operational excellence. And when you have that as your calling card, you can pop premium. If you don't have that, you'll never get there.
Right, and it's almost like, I feel like, because I was in LAX, earlier or on Sunday actually, because I flew back on Sunday night from Los Angeles through LAX, and it's sort of interesting because I feel like with like the Delta VIP experience, it's totally changed like the travel experience. Obviously it costs more money to utilize it, but as a traveler, and I travel all the time.
Yep.
And sometimes I'm traveling private, sometimes I'm traveling through Delta or some other airlines, And it's, through the VIP experience, it's almost about as good as traveling private, and just how quick you can actually get through security.
Seriously.
And the lounge or the access we went through when I was leaving, I mean, there was no security line. It was a great experience.
Just go right through, and this fall in LAX, we'll have a dedicated Delta One club so that when you get at the end of the security queue, you're going to go right. I mean, we have a great club already,
Right.
but the club's going to be that much better.
Yeah.
And that'll just be for Delta One customers.
Yeah.
And we're going to be expanding that throughout our network. So that's where the brand is, and as a result of that, we were able to earn the premium in the marketplace.
How does, because Wheels Up, y'all made, and I may be wrong, so if I'm misspeaking, correct me, but y'all made an investment in Wheels Up, right? Like you have a partnership with them. How does that relate? I mean, how do you look at how that sort of evolve with your ecosystem over time, I guess?
Yeah, so we went in with a couple of other investors and bought Wheels Up last summer, and they had gotten, as private operators often do, they gotten themselves into some trouble and they were overextended.
Right.
And we were able to come in, and we've replaced the management team. We've brought Delta operators in. So Delta is now behind the scenes helping operate and manage the company. We've moved their headquarters from New York down here to Atlanta. They're based, they've got a great operations center they built over at PDK Airport, which is a smaller, but it kind of mirrors what we have in Atlanta back at the home office, our global ops center. In fact, the guy that ran our operations center for years is now the chief operating officer of Wheels Up. And the reason I got involved with it is that I see that as the next step of premium. When you think about premium, Delta One's a great experience, but many customers, just like you mentioned yourself, sometimes you fly private. Oftentimes those Wheels Up customers generally fly commercial,
Right.
but use private as when they need to, or if they want to splurge and take their family or do something fun or special. So the blending of the experience between Wheels Up and Delta is something that's unique in the industry. No private operator has a commercial airline that they're attached to on the premium private, and certainly no private operator has the operating depth standing behind it, the maintenance depth, the reliability opportunities that Delta has. So we're in there. It's a turnaround because their reliability did suffer quite a bit over the last couple of years, so we're building it back. And anyone here that's been a Wheels Up member, you may have been disappointed. In time, give us another shot. But let me know, because it's coming. And where I see that going is an opportunity to continue to move between premium, at the private level, premium at the commercial level. And one of the things that people tell me is a real obstacle, which I understand, is you buy a block of travel and you don't really know how much you're going to use. It's an inhibitor when you say you put down $250,000 for private aviation. Well, say I just can't make the math work. I don't know. I may not. It's a hard decision. But when you tell people you can put down a block, and it can be smaller than that, by the way, and you can use that money on Delta or Wheels Up. You're not locked into Wheels Up. You can also use that money. It changes. And you can have a membership. You can have Delta benefits. You can get all the privileges that Delta provides and be able to become a member in Wheels Up. It's a different conversation. And so we're focused on getting the reliability fixed, which we're making good progress on. And then the next step for us is very much with the corporates, because every corporate company, every big company in this country, it seems, has their own fleet department, their own private jets, their own managed fleets. They have their own pilots, and they're the toys that people protect. You don't want to touch. When I'm not trying to take them away, but saying you probably don't need as many as you have. You can probably let somebody that already manages all of your other travel needs take care of that with you and come to a better answer. And we're working with some very big names of companies that can. I think it'll be great. By the way, it's also great from a sustainability perspective, and the governance around that. It's hard for CEOs to talk about sustainability as they're flying in on their G650 on a 500-mile stage length.
Right.
So it's so that's to come. But right now we're kind of making certain that reliability is there. But it's going to be a great product for us.
Yeah, and it seems like, that should be a great fit, just to your point, like the costs of, having your own plane and the reliability of just, unfortunately, planes, they run into issues. And
Tell me, I got 1,000 of them.
Yeah, so you can speak to it firsthand pretty well. And it's one of those that if you have a small plane, if you have a citation or something and you need to get somewhere, it's much easier to have, hopefully have a fleet of planes like
Well,
Wheels Up.
it's peace of mind and it's flexibility.
Right.
And the other thing Wheels Up have that people don't understand as much, it's not just the Wheels Up fleet. We also own this company in the UK called Air Partners that brokers anywhere in the world, high quality service. So if you can't get to where you want to be in Wheels Up, whether it's an international leg or they can manage it through Air Partners, and that's also an added feature that, again, a lot of other brokers don't have access to.
So is Air Partners, is that a charter service or is that?
It's a broker service,
okay.
within Wheels Up.
Got it.
But it was a 60-year-old company in the UK. It was a listed company. Wheels Up bought it a few years ago, so it's now embedded as part of the Wheels Up offering.
Yep. And then as you're flying on, so if you're flying Wheels Up, you're a Delta SkyMiles member, does that like automatically just get you Delta 360?
You get access to benefits, yes.
You get the benefits. That's
you
great.
put enough money on Wheels Up, they'll make you a 360.
Right. So everybody hears that. So if you want to be Delta 360, just become a Wheels Up.
It's the easiest way.
Yeah. What's outside of like Wheels Up? Is there any other like interesting things that you're noticing that you're doing, or any innovation you see happening just across air travel, over the future? Or?
Well, I think technology, as I was saying earlier, with AI and other features, digital is continuing to change the game, and the importance of that app, the importance of managing the airport experience. We were talking backstage about digital ID and your opportunity to kind of cut the lines through security, get through there faster, make it more efficient for you is a great thing. We want to personalize that relationship. When you have 200 million customers a year, that's hard to create the relationship that you want at scale. But through technology and through digital, you can create that experience. Our desire, our goal with our team is to have the Delta app feel like the red coat, the famous Delta red coat. It's in the palm of your hands, making your travel journey easier so that you don't have to necessarily engage with people along the way until you want to. One of the things we spent a lot of time is in in-flight entertainment. I mentioned Wi-Fi as a means, as a gateway into the ecosystem, but it's also a gateway for partners to join us in the ecosystem. And we've now have, when you're on board Delta, you have access to exclusive opportunities to shop on Walmart Plus that you can only get when you're on board Delta flying, or T-Mobile will provide special, unique opportunities, or Paramount Plus. And there's more to come in that space as we're looking not to monetize the relationships, but bring value to our we carry 200 million people a year. They stay on average with us 3 hours a session, the length of a flight. And I've got them even seatbelted in and all facing in the same way. If you can't figure out how to market and how to improve the experience to that group, you're not a very good marketer. One of the things we've done at Delta is we've maintained our in-flight content, the seatback screens, the TVs. Most of the other airlines kind of been in and out and all over the place. We've been consistent. It's on virtually every plane that we operate. Many of the planes, it's not on the small regionals, but all of our big commercial planes. And we're in the midst of now taking those seatback screens, which are dumb screens, into smart screens. And the product's called Delta Sync. So you'll now be able to enable to be able to see on your seatback. It's not at the moment, but over time, whatever you're doing on your PDA, you can also do on your seatback. It can recognize you. It can personalize your experience. You can order your drink. You can understand what's in your meal in terms of by the chef who cooked it. There's so many different ways that you can continue to build loyalty and experience through the flight, not just on the flight.
Yeah, and that's great. I mean, it sounds like the airline business is so similar to the hotel business, just on creating that loyalty and having that guests. And there's a lot, pretty much, most of the owners that are in the room, they're franchisees of like Marriott or Hilton or Intercontinental and Hyatt and some of the other brands like Choice and Wyndham. And it's, and they all have these loyalty programs to help, sort of bring it together. And that's part of the reason, everything you're talking about is the reason I love to, fly Delta. I think most people that live in Atlanta probably prefer Delta, as well as just y'all's reliability, when flying into, other cities. Like I've just noticed that even flying on other airlines, you just run into the issues where, a lot of those flights are delayed for unknown reasons, even when there's not weather, whereas Delta is, for at least for me, 95, 99% of the time is
No,
reliable.
we are.
So.
We've won all the awards. We continue to win the awards for on time and reliability and service. But that's table stakes. That's the foundation. And if you can't deliver that level of reliability, all the other things don't matter.
Right.
It's the old putting lipstick on a pig. If you deliver that level of service, that gives you the right to go after that premium customer. It also allows you to have your employees providing service rather than apologies. And we all know in the hospitality business that we hire people that have great service mindset. They are the world's worst people having to apologize because they feel really bad for the customers, and they actually get really angry at their company for putting them in that position. And about 15 years ago, we said we can never do that again. So this journey that Delta's been on, it's not something that we've done here in the last handful of years. This has been 15 years in the making, coming out of a tough restructuring after 9/11. And we take great pride in the people that work at Delta. The service they provide is the very best, and we share the rewards with our people. The people of Delta, the 100,000 people, receive 15% of our earnings every year. It's their profits. It's not just the shareholders. We pay 15% to the employees, and they get paid first, given how tough an industry it is. This past Valentine's Day, and we always pay it on Valentine's Day, we paid our people $1.4 billion. That's with a B, right?
Yeah,
and over the
incredible.
last decade, we've paid over $10 billion to our people.
Right.
And that's why they're happy, and that's why there's an alignment of interest between your customer, your shareholder, your management team, your community. It's about a people-first agenda that we deliver. And when you put people first and you give them the tools to do a great job, the model, it sounds simple, it's hard to do, but it's pretty basic. And it's funny, I was speaking to a group yesterday, and people were asking, well, how do your shareholders improve that? Because we're also largely non-union, and it's not about union versus non-union. Our pilots are unionized, but all of our other employees are non-union. And they say, you can change it, you can do it. They say, initially our shareholders had some questions about it, but I can tell you, if I decided to make a change to the Delta profit sharing plan, not only would my employees be upset, my shareholders would be even more upset, because we deliver the best profits in the industry by a large shot, even after paying the cost of it. So they understand that they're getting an investment that's worth it when they're investing in our people, and our people continue to produce great results as a consequence.
Yeah, no, that's incredible, because that alignment of interest, to your point, that really helps to drive the culture as well. Mm-hmm. And it makes everybody, because I've noticed that even, interacting with different, people that work at Delta, at the airports and stuff, everyone's happy for the most part, right? Like, yeah. It's one of those that you fly on some of these other airlines, or you talk to people outside of the airline industry, just, randomly at different companies, and you just notice they don't have that same, energy level or the same passion for what they're doing. And I have noticed that there is that, clearly through that profit sharing, and probably there's other, I imagine there's other
there's
stuff
so many things that we do here.
Yeah.
To create that alignment. We're a team of teams at Delta. We have 5,000 flights a day, and every day, something happens differently on one flight versus another flight. And everything starts off the day with the same game plan, and you have to make course corrections. So in our industry, you need to trust your employees. You need to have, they need to make decisions, as to how they're handling a specific situation. You can't have them calling back to the mothership and say, what do I do now? So you train them, you support them, but most importantly, you let them know that you trust their judgment, and that you'll continue to have their back on that journey. And when you deal with 200 million people a year, as you know, the traveling public can be difficult at times, right?
Right.
We love all our customers. Some we love more than others, and it's hard when you're dealing with it. And it's one thing dealing in the hotel. It's another when you're kind of in a cabin, you can't get out the door.
Right.
It puts a higher level of pressure and stress sometimes into the performance. So it's something that's been developed over time, that family feel at Delta. We're turning 100 years old next year. We'll be the first U.S. airline turning 100 years, and we're going to celebrate loudly. But we're going to be celebrating our people and our customers for helping us get there.
That's incredible, and it's. There's no question, like, y'all been, as an industry, you've been through a lot. As you look at our industry, we've been through a lot through the years with all these different black swan events. And clearly having that strong culture is really the, sort of the catalyst to help you drive through, any type of market disruption, any type of black swan event. But as you just take a step back, because I know we don't have a lot of time left, but, just thinking back to like March of 2020, that had to be just super challenging, just knowing the unknown of, just.
Yeah, it's four years ago, basically.
Yeah.
This month.
Yeah, exactly. So was it, at that point in time, because there was so much of an unknown when travel was going to, actually start back. And I know how I felt at the time, and we have a team much smaller than your team. I mean, we have, at that point in time, we had about 2,000 team members at the different hotels that we owned, and we had, well over 100 corporate team members. And it's like, okay, well, nobody's traveling, nobody's staying at our hotels. What do you do? And we had to make quick decisions internally because we're, staring down a barrel of no revenues coming in. And we made a decision, I think, that really set us apart in the sense that we kept our corporate team in place.
Yeah.
And then unfortunately, I think we made a mistake because the recovery back from COVID came back a lot quicker. But we furloughed off pretty much most of our property level team. And as you know, the labor markets became super challenging. It was hard
to get back.
Yeah, hard to get them back. So how did y'all handle that experience?
So we, like everyone here, we all managed it in our own sort of way. And for Delta, 2019 was our best performing year ever in our history and in the industry's history. And so when it hit, I mean, candidly, we fell the furthest because we had the furthest to fall, given where we sat. And when you couple that with, as you say, the prognostications that business travel is now done, you got guys like Bill Gates saying it's only going to be 50% back at best, and all this stuff. People were pretty disconsolate as to what was going to happen. We really. I think I tell people this: you spend a couple of weeks kind of feeling sorry for yourself, and you have your head in the sand. How are you going to get through this? But it's the spirit of our culture that kind of picked us up, and I spent a lot of time communicating with our people. One of the things that I set as a goal this time 4 years ago is that we would not furlough anyone. I set that as a goal, and I told our team we had a lot of video chat and video conference tools that we were already using at the time, so they could see me saying that. I said it's probably crazy, it's probably not possible, but I envision an opportunity to get through this thing differently than ever before. Now, this is at a time, not only did we not have any revenue coming in, we had $100 million a day going out the door, every day, $100 million, because we were having to not just pay our bills, but also, all the refunds that were coming at us. And, we lost in the first 90 days, $10 billion of cash, the first 90 days of COVID. So when you're out there saying you're going to try not to furlough, people are saying, yeah, probably, that'd be nice, but, odds are that's not going to happen. We did not furlough a single person, through COVID. And that speaks to the culture of the company. And it wasn't that something because we were generous and I decided that I could afford it, because you certainly couldn't afford it. But what we did is we had the opportunity, because we have a unique bond at the company. I asked our people to take time off without pay. We kept their benefits intact. We gave them travel privileges. I always tell people that's the best time to travel. If you want to know what a private jet experience was like, you should have been traveling during COVID.
Right.
Because there were a lot of private planes. We went to D.C. We were the first industry I spent a lot of time in the White House and the leaders in the Capitol Hill the first 2 months of COVID, getting the packages, the CARES Act designed in order to keep employees in their jobs within the airline industry, and then expanded across the board to other service industries. But at the same time, we still didn't have any revenue coming in, and the cost to us of doing that was that we were required to keep all of our flights in place throughout the entire time of COVID. Right. We could meter down the number of frequencies, but any route that we operated, we had to maintain presence in, and any direct routes we had to maintain presence in throughout all of COVID. And that was a very expensive undertaking. So whatever the government gave us in terms of funding to pay our people, we spent it back plus then in keeping that. But it was absolutely the right thing to do, because it enabled our country to keep operating. When you think about how interconnected our country is and how large our country is, without air travel, it disintegrates pretty quickly. People not being able to get, whether it's getting to the bedside of a loved one who's dying, we had, or people having to go to the front lines to fight with medical workers or first responders or the supply chain, or just people needing to keep their contacts, the small business owners that needed to kind of keep the business running as hard as it was during that time frame. And our people were out there on the front lines making that all happen. So we were able to operate, but we could operate more efficiently. So I asked them to take that time off. We had 50,000 people volunteer, half of our entire company volunteer for up to 2 years to take that time off. They didn't get paid. We shrunk the company in half. We kept their benefits in place. So as the rebound came, we brought them back in time. So you're talking about a different way of doing it. And then on top of that, we had a pretty significant early retirement opportunity. We had another 20,000 that we gave early retirement inducements. That was all voluntary, but many people that were on in time did it to save the jobs of younger people. So we took our company down to about 30,000 people from 100,000 within the space of 2 months. Wow. Which is remarkable in a huge fixed cost business. And you kept everybody engaged with you in that journey. So when you think about all the things we did during COVID, including blocking the middle seats for the longest period anyone did, or all the ways we focused on wellness and care, it's the actions, not the words, that matter. And that's what people, we actually saw our brand accelerate through COVID, as strange as that sounds when people aren't traveling. Our brand, our loyalty program, our American Express card, everything was kind of pointing up. So as the demand came back in these last couple of years, we were positioned and ready to go.
Yeah, and I can see why, because I traveled through all of COVID and call it April and May of 2020, I was jumping on Delta flights and truly love that.
One of 5 people, probably.
Yeah, exactly. I love that private experience on Delta. So you'd be in coach. You'd usually get upgraded to first class because there was nobody there, and you had pretty much the whole entire plane to yourself, which was great. But you did a phenomenal job managing through that. Just a couple of questions because we don't have a lot of time. And this is more of a fun question. Like, what's your favorite plane that Delta flies? Because I've got a couple of friends that literally will book their travel around the actual plane. They fly Delta or whatever airlines, and I'm like, I'm not really, personally, when I book travel, I book for convenience or, the time that's gonna get me to where I need to be at, so I don't necessarily pay attention and I just show up to the flight, but.
Oh, my favorite plane is our Airbus 350. It's our big international. It's our flagship product, and we just bought a bunch more coming, and if you get to sit in Delta One on that product, it's really sweet.
That's great. And then one other question before we close it out. What's your favorite hotel to stay at? Which you're probably gonna make somebody happy and disappoint a bunch of people.
So I'm not gonna answer that question.
I don't blame you on that one. So
by the way, I live in a hotel here in Atlanta. I live at the Waldorf. I'm always in hotels. A couple of weeks ago, maybe some of you may have been there. I don't know. I was at the Forbes 5-star travel guide, big award in Vegas, and I was speaking at that with Herman and the team and Jeff Arnold, and I did one of these sessions, and they asked me where have I not been to on my bucket list, where would I like to go, and I've got 500 of the top luxury providers in the world. All they're dying, and so I kind of brought my bucket list out. So I started, and so I had people. I won't do that here, but but it was fun to go. And Deborah and I are going on a safari this summer to Africa, and so we're going.
Oh wow, that's
going to be our big next adventure.
Yeah, that's awesome. That's great. Well, we really appreciate your time and really appreciate you coming out today and actually doing this with you being local, especially. And there's a lot of people in the room that are based here in Atlanta, and you're a huge economic impact to the city, to the state, and obviously to the country as well.
We appreciate the support we receive. I know we have many loyal customers in the room today. Thank you for your business. Thank you for staying true to Delta through this, especially these last 4 years. And we're going to continue to make it even better. The one thing about our industry that we all know is that you can never believe your press clippings. You can never believe those accolades. Are always great to receive. It's the next day's success. That's really the only thing that matters.
And I guess the biggest takeaway today is if you want to be Delta 360, just join Wheels Up, right?
Yeah, just call me.
And travel's going to keep booming too. So.
Travel will continue to do great.
All right. Well, thank you.
Thank you, Greg. Thank you, everybody. Thanks.